and this is Powerful People of San Diego. This is our Vineyard series, and to educate you on wine, we have brought the Vice President of the San Diego Vintners Association and his wife, Ray Shore. Welcome to the show.
Hello,
Thank you for
hi.
coming. Hi.
Thanks for having us.
And who's the beautiful lady to your right?
This is Janine O'Brien, my bride.
Your pride and joy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So how long have you been with the San Diego Vintners Association, and what is it that they do?
So the Vintners Association promotes the wine industry, the growing wine industry here in San Diego. And this, of course, is where the wine industry started in California, and it's really grown the past 5 to 10 years, kind of mirroring what's going on in the brewing business. And so the San Diego County Vintners Association represents the various wineries. About half of them are members right now. To the governmental agencies, also to tourism, and so on.
That's wonderful. Now, you both co-own the Highland Valley Vineyard.
Highland Valley Vineyards.
And that's at the foothills of San Diego? No,
Yes.
foothills of
San Diego County.
Yeah.
in South Escondido.
Right, southeast
Southeast.
Escondido. We're actually in the county, but we have an Escondido mailing address.
Ah, good
Yeah.
for you. And so, how was your experience? You started your winery about the same time that the boutique law came into effect. Can you tell us what that is?
We started off as amateur winemakers in our garage. We were called Garagistes in Rancho Bernardo, and won a bunch of awards and started looking for land to do a more expanded version and eventually go commercial. And that was about the time that the boutique winery ordinance came into effect. And so we upped our plan a little bit, did a business plan, decided to make a commercial winery that we could operate in our retirement, which is still a few years off.
You're never going to retire. You have a
But the
plan.
boutique winery ordinance allowed us the opportunity to do that because it lowered the cost significantly to open the tasting room.
So how else did the boutique winery law affect all of the wineries in San Diego? I mean, right now we have almost 117 wineries now.
That's right.
And that's mostly in the last 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah, we say that there's 2 words, employment and enjoyment. So it's really helped to grow the business of wine in San Diego, and that has produced people hiring part-time and full-time workers, and also buying things like bottles and glass and grapes, that promotes the economy. And then enjoyment, people now can go to over 100 tasting rooms right here in our county. They don't have to drive up to Riverside County to enjoy this experience.
Okay, so let's talk about tasting rooms. One of my favorite wine things. When somebody comes to your tasting room, how do you lead them into the fullest enjoyment of the wines that you guys produce?
Well, we do. We actually pour about 5 or 6 wines per tasting, and we start off with our we feel the lightest, the more simpler, and then they go to more robust, more structured, bigger types of wines. And as we take a taster through it, we explain what's going on, how we made it, what grapes are in it, what kind of oak it was in, things like that. So we actually give them an experience of, what they should be tasting possibly in the wine. And then they can ask questions about, anything about the wines.
So is that typical when we go to the other wineries in San Diego?
Pretty much, yes. If you have, yes. People want you to, we want to educate people on the wines and what we're doing and what we're making here in San Diego from San Diego fruit, not bringing fruit in from other areas of the county or from from Napa, Sonoma, et cetera, but what we're doing here in San Diego.
So you're in what's called an estate, right? An estate winery where you're vertically integrated. You grow the wines, you process the wines, and you serve the wines. Is that right?
That is correct.
What's the hardest part of doing that?
Oh my gosh.
Well, they say that in the wine business there's 3 things: growing the grape, making the wine, and selling the wine, and most people are good at 2 out of 3. So it's difficult to do all 3. But I'd say the most expensive part is the selling part, because you have all the marketing costs, the advertising and the insurance that you have to have and all those kinds of things. They're all uniquely challenging,
Oh dear.
Yeah. The other thing too about the tasting experience is that while we don't serve food, people can bring lunches, and so we have picnic tables set up, and this is also common at all the boutique
we brought
wineries.
a picture. You have
There's
an outdoor.
We have an outdoor
Our
tasting
crush
area.
pad
Yes.
gets turned into our tasting area.
Yeah.
Our barrel room gets turned into our inside tasting area.
No kidding. For the whole summer?
Yeah.
For the yes.
Wow. And you guys
Or
have
for the whole year.
For
for
year
the
round.
whole year.
Yeah.
And the benefit of going to San Diego wineries for the tastings is you have a magnificent view. What is your view of?
We have the whole San Pasqual Valley. We're nestled up on top of a hill, and we just look over the whole valley. It's beautiful.
How gorgeous. So you get to drink the wine and watch the vineyards and
Exactly.
look at the valley.
Yeah.
What a wonderful experience. So how many wines would you recommend? Oh, let's talk for a moment about the Wine Festival, which is the benefit, charitable benefit of the San Diego Vintners Association. You pulled dozens of wineries together at one time.
Yeah, this year it's at the Sykes Adobe, which is in Escondido.
What time of the year?
It's in May.
Is it May every year?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're expecting a larger number of wineries supporting it this year. We'll probably have 20 to 25 of the wineries in the county represented, and you'll be able to taste wines from the urban wineries or people at Escondido or people out in the desert, up in the Ramona area.
Wow.
And they'll all be there.
So when I go to this winery festival, you're going to pass out distribute sheets that say who the wineries are and what grapes they have?
Yeah, there's like a menu of all the different wineries that are there and the things that they're pouring, their wines they're pouring.
So for either the beginner or the more experienced drinker, how would you recommend, because obviously we can't drink all the wines that you're going to have there, how would you suggest we select out and to have the maximum enjoyable experience?
I would suggest that at the time that you get the menu, and if you're a new wine drinker, maybe for a second time, you might want to try with the lighter wines. So you might want to look for the whites, the rosés, the lighter, and then start with those. But if you're more robust, you're experienced, and you like bigger, then you would find the cabs, possibly the merlots, the petite syrahs, the blends that you would probably enjoy.
And then just enjoy those from winery to winery.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a chance to try 25% of the wineries in a whole county in one place in one
amazing.
afternoon.
Yeah.
No, the very popular event.
It is.
Let's see. I want to talk about the winery experience, growing into the winery experience as you guys are having. So you start from the beginning, you get some land, and then you have to develop a logo and a brand. Let's talk about how you guys developed your logo and how long did it take and what were you thinking when you did that?
This is always the challenge when you start something is what's the image
What's
going
the
to look
image?
like of the thing. Our winery that we build is a craftsman style bungalow look. That
The building.
the building itself.
Oh.
We wanted to be unique in that area of Highland Valley. We went and took pictures of a lot of houses in North Park and kind of decided what it was going to look like and had it designed. And so we wanted the winery to have that look as well from the 1920s. And there's a little story about our particular logo, which is shown here on the back of the bottle, and then also the label incorporates the logo. And I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, and this is a little flyer that we actually have at the winery because so many people ask, how did you design your logo? This is Crown Hill Cemetery in Indianapolis, where all the famous Hoosiers are buried, including my parents. And they call it Crown Hill because it's the highest point in Marion County, 200-foot elevation.
Okay.
So we went, this is a map of the city, and Crown Hill's up here, and there's downtown. And at the top of the hill in Crown Hill, we were taking a picture of the skyline of Indianapolis 5 or 6 miles away and noticed this interesting 1920s looking mausoleum, which was the Fortune family mausoleum. And they had done farming up on the northeast side of Indy and had a door on their mausoleum with all the images of the different things that they had farmed, which included grapes.
Yay!
So we took a picture of the grapes, had it turned into a logo, and based on this Art Deco kind of look, our designer came up with the label. And
what
what was
impressive.
important for us was to have a designer who had never designed a wine label before, because we wanted it to be unique.
And it certainly is unique. I've never seen anything quite like that.
So the idea always with the label is some people want it to jump off a shelf if they're marketing through retail. Our marketing is 100% at our winery, and that's the case for most wineries in San Diego County. And so we wanted to look like an outstanding bottle of wine sitting on a white tablecloth when somebody's having their 50th anniversary dinner.
Excellent. That's it's gorgeous. Now let's talk momentarily. Apparently, you may have won 1 or 2 or 30 or 40 or 200 awards. So that's exciting. I mean, to
Very
be
exciting.
Notified, noticed like that. I mean, look at all these gorgeous things. Which of these are you most proud of? Tough question.
I
huh?
would say the one we're most proud of is the Syrah, because it was one of our very first wines that we made and when we went commercial, and we entered it into the San Francisco Chronicle, and we won a double gold. And we were asked to pour at the event. So we went, and people kept saying, "Oh, what,
This is really great. What is
San
this?
Diego fruit? I know, they had no idea that we made grapes, or we grew grapes here. They had no idea that San Diego even had a wine region.
Wow.
And we kept saying, no, San Diego vinted, grown, vinted, and double gold. So Ray people kept asking us, it was a 2-day event. He went to
Kinko's,
Staples, and he had a sign made that said San Diego grown, San Diego vinted, double gold.
No
It's
kidding.
like, yeah.
Right.
So fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are like going, we had no idea San
That's a
Diego
great
even had wineries.
Well, we're fixing that here today.
Yeah, there you
Everybody
go.
should know.
Yeah, we think it's important to do the competitions to be able to get an independent measure of how the wine is, doing against the standard.
Right.
And if you don't do competitions, you wind up saying, well, I think my wine is great, but I'm not really sure.
And now you know for sure. What other
Yeah.
competitions are there for this?
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah, the famous one in San Diego County is called the Toast of the Coast, which coincides with the San Diego County Fair. And
Toast of
it's-
the Coast.
And
Yep.
it's a big one now. It has a couple thousand entries. The Indy International, which is back in Purdue University, has like 3,000 or 4,000 entries.
From all
the
over the
Chronicle
nation.
that she
Oh,
mentioned.
yeah.
The Chronicle?
Yes,
The Chronicle, San
is the-
Francisco Chronicle.
It's
They
the
come
biggest
from-
one. Yeah.
Yeah, the wines come from all over the world.
All over the world.
So
no
you're
kidding.
actually getting,
Yeah.
so
So
you're getting
you won a
hitting-
double gold against wines from
Yes.
all over the world.
yeah, from France.
Wow.
That make
there's
Syrah.
some French
Yeah.
people crying today. That's good. Okay, so
Yeah.
we know that you have wonderful wines. I'm going to ask you, and you go to visit the other wineries in our region. So whose wine do you like? I'm not going to ask you who you didn't like,
Yeah.
but whose wines do you like in our San Diego region?
Go for it.
Because you have a far more sophisticated palate than mine.
One of my favorites to go to is the Hungry Hawk.
Why is that?
And they're in Escondido because they have some very interesting, unique wines. They grow a grape called Noir Syrah that I've never heard of. It's a Syrah grape. It's part of the family of Syrah, and it's just an incredible structure to it. Their wine, the berry taste, everything is just, it's a surprise.
And you would pour it at your house.
I would. Oh, damn, I have bottles at home.
That speaks very well for them. Good. Hungry Hawk, where are you? And you, which one?
Well,
in San
in
Diego?
Highland Valley, close to us, there's a winery called Altipiano. That's Italian.
Wait, how do you spell that?
Altipiano is A-L-T-I, and then piano.
Piano. Got it.
And
yeah.
that's Italian for High Valley.
Ah, okay.
And it's run by the Clarks, Peter and Denise. And Denise is the winemaker. She's a woman winemaker. They grow a Brunello clone of Sangiovese and a few other varieties. And so their Italian Brunello is outstanding, and then they make a Super Tuscan out of that. So their tasting experience is really nice too. It's a patio, nice view of their
Like yours?
vineyard. Yeah, like ours.
And speaking of wine, grapes, what kind of grapes do you guys grow at your place?
Oh, we grow the Bordeaux. We're a Bordeaux house, meaning that we enjoy the 5 Bordeaux grapes. So we have,
Which are?
which are Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cab Franc, Malbec, and Petit Verdot.
Yeah.
So that's primarily what you. It's only what you grow.
That's only what we
Yeah,
grow.
Yeah, we produce about 25% of the fruit we need for all of our wine production, and that's required by the ordinance.
Okay.
And so we specialize in Bordeaux blends, but we also make a Syrah that we were just talking about, a Zinfandel, Barbera, because people like to have a variety, and all wineries do that.
And all wineries do that. Let's talk for a minute about terroir, because I can say that now. So what is the terroir in your area? And first of all, what is terroir, and why is it important to you guys, and what is it in your little valley?
Yeah, terroir is kind of an expression for both the land, the soil itself, and the weather, climate,
That impacts.
situation around that, right? And so in Highland Valley, it's nice because we have a deeply draining, decomposed granite for the most part. It doesn't have a lot of minerals in it, so the vines struggle a little bit. They make a smaller, more intense fruit, and we like that. And then we get a nice breeze that cools it down every day. It comes up about 11 o'clock, blows right in from La Jolla through the valley and keeps it relatively cool.
Why is that important to a grape?
You don't want the grape to get sunburned and overly ripe too early in the season, so it's kind of nice. I mean, there are certain varieties that do better in intense heat, but the difference between, say, us and Ramona is we're usually about 5 to 10 degrees, a little bit cooler.
That
with
much?
breeze.
Just that close as
Yeah.
well.
And then we get a nice cool evening too. So you want to have a, what's the term, dialectic difference between the
Heat and the cold.
the daytime temperature and the nighttime temperature, right? Yeah.
Diurnal.
Diurnal. Okay.
Diurnal. Yeah,
New word
thanks.
for- Okay, got it.
Diurnal.
Janine's the co-winemaker at our
Yeah,
wine.
she's the high
and
IQ one, I
she's
got it.
she's also a level 1 sommelier, so she knows all these terms that I don't know.
Okay, let's talk about that. What is a level 1 sommelier?
A level 1 sommelier. I'm a Court of Masters level 1 sommelier.
Who's
and
quartermaster?
The Court of Masters is an organization that they're the ones who actually
Do
do
the
the
testing?
testing and make you, or if
Certify.
you pass, they certify you as a sommelier. And there's 4 levels of sommelier: level 1, certified, advanced, and then a master. So I passed my level 1 last June, and it's
Yay!
all things wine. You
Like?
have to know. Where the grapes are growing all over the world, not just in the United States and such.
Sure.
You're talking old world, new world, grapes, climate, currents, mountain ranges, the rain shadow effect, everything about why a grape is the way it is and why the wine tastes that way in that area.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So how did you select your specific wines for your specific area, grapes?
Our grapes?
Uh-huh.
Oh, because we love Bordeaux.
Yeah.
This is the one thing that when we first started making wine, we said that, we can't please everybody. You can't make wine for the masses. You have to make wine the way you love it and what we do. So we just love our wine.
If you don't sell your wine, you have to drink it.
Yeah, so
So you
better
gotta make what
enjoy
you
it.
like. That's right.
I'm going to use that in the future.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you guys. I can't sell this. I have to drink this and this and this and this.
It's true.
So that's the same for all of the small wineries. They make
Absolutely.
what they like.
Absolutely.
And they all, in Highland Valley, we originally had 5 wineries, there's now 7. And we all did something a little bit different, but not by design, just by interest. So our neighbors do Spanish, Altipiano I mentioned does Italian, another group does Rhone style, and at the top of the hill, the Cordiano winery is quite famous, does all kinds of different wines. So, yeah.
Goodness, it's far more complex than one would imagine. Somebody who hasn't seen the insights that you guys actually have. Yeah. So where do you see the vineyards of San Diego County growing in the future? Do you think more people are going to put in vineyards? Do you think they're going to get bigger? What?
Well, part of, I mentioned that we have to grow 25% on our property. Then we also can buy additional grapes, but of those that we purchase, 50% have to come from inside the county. This is according to the boutique winery ordinance. If you're running a winery on the coast, in the city of San Diego, these rules don't apply.
Okay.
But in that case, then we're looking for grapes specifically in San Diego because we need them.
Yes.
And this has caused a real growth in the number of vineyards. Not necessarily wineries, but vineyards. Even in our little valley, there's now 25 people growing grapes up there.
Wow.
And 10 years ago, there were one or two. So,
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually, it was Cordiano was the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of people buy a winery, start a winery? Are these people who out of Southeast San Diego, people don't live here?
One of the things that spurred the growth was the fires that came through in 2007 because
Really?
they burned up a lot of avocado groves in the foothills, at least not too far from where we are, also up in Ramona. And people say, hey, maybe the avocados, which are very thirsty and the prices are very low, we should pull these out and put in grapevines. And then
The
from
other thing
that,
was water.
Yeah, the price of
exactly,
water.
price
The
of
price of
water.
water and the quantity of water, because grapevines need very little water.
That's right.
No
And
Very
all the citrus and avocados, they need water a lot. So it's very easy to, do the
Replace that.
correlation and
Yeah,
say,
so, and so there's even still land left available for people to go in and start.
Yeah, I mean, there's not huge tracts of land in San Diego that are appropriate, but there are definitely lots that are available.
left.
And also people that are just building homes on 5-acre lots, they like to look out and look at a vineyard. So we're constantly being asked, would you be interested in buying, 3 acres worth of Brunello or something?
Right. Right. But the wine, they're not asking you to buy the land. They're asking you to buy the grapes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then how do you determine if that grape is appropriate for your wine? That's a tough one.
Well, it depends on what the grape varietal is, and we do a plan, advanced, what we have already in the barrels and such, and what we're going to do this coming year, and we go out and they approach us. People come to our winery and say, "Hey, I've got," like Ray says, "I've got half-acre of land. I've got vines. Would you like to come out and look at them?" So we'll go out and look at them
And what do you look
make a
for when you go
determination.
out?
If it's
good
an established
structure.
vineyard, it's nice to see some wine that was made from those grapes before. If that's not possible, then Janine and I go out and actually look at the vines and see how they've been pruned in the past. And it doesn't take too long to figure out if the vineyard's been properly managed. And then you'll give it a try, and the first year, if the grapes are great, then we're right back there
Yeah,
saying,
we're
hey,
right
we want
back.
them next
Yeah,
year.
and then we sign them
as
up
we're,
and say-
as we're writing the check, we're saying we want them next year too.
Right.
Next year and the year after.
If they're
and
not,
so-
then we say, we'll see how the wine comes out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Right.
can you tell from the grapes how the wine's going to turn out?
Yeah,
For the most part, yes.
for the most
Just
part.
by tasting, or do you do a test on them?
We do tests
We
as
test.
well.
What kind of tests?
We're testing throughout the growing season the sugars on the wine and also the pH, the acid amount.
What level of sugars are you looking for?
We're,
Yeah, I like
we're-
dessert wines. I want them sweet, by golly.
But we're unique in that because we don't pick by the sugar, the bricks. We pick by pH because we want the acid to be balanced in our wines. So we don't want a flabby wine. We don't want no character wine. We want the acid right. And then if the bricks are a little bit lower, let's say 24, that's okay. The sugar, because we want to taste the fruit in the wine. We don't want it to have a high alcohol wine. We want to have a wine that you taste the berries, you know what, and then the other, from the barrel, it brings flavor in like a vanilla or a smoke or things like that. We want to be able to taste all that in our wines.
Right.
I understand. So what's the definition of brick?
A brick is the measurement of sugar in a grape.
Yeah. Bricks. Bricks
And-
falling.
Okay, and so you want a balance of the pH, but the brick isn't
Yeah.
as...
What happens during the growing season is acid goes down and sugar goes up. That's the natural process of grapes maturing.
Okay.
And you have to find that sweet spot where you have enough acid that it's not flabby, like Ginny mentioned, but also enough sugar that you can make a substantial wine. And but if the winemaker only pays attention to the bricks and is looking for 26, 27, 28, so he can make a 15.5% alcohol big
Right.
wine, he's going to wind up with one that only has a pH of 3.2 or 3.3, and it's going to be flabby.
gonna be
He'll have to add acid to it, which is not natural. So anyway, going back,
Yes, yeah.
we're looking at when a vine gets to about 3.5 in pH, that's when we start to think about, okay, in the next week or 10 days, we're going to pick these grapes.
It's a very delicate balance. You're the slave of Mother Nature.
Yes. Yes, so true.
Yeah, I mean, some seasons, the whole season's going along perfect, and then we have this spike of weather of 110 degrees for 6 or 7 days, and it changes the whole
The whole chemistry.
picture.
whole chemistry.
You got to be ready. You have to have the kind of job that when the grapes are ready, you go pick them.
Yeah. So talk to me about an average day out in the field when it's picking time. Long days, huh?
It starts with a fantastic breakfast. She produces.
Yeah, we have a breakfast and then we have a champagne toast
Yeah.
and we bless the vineyards.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then we start.
go Catholics. Dave.
Yeah, come on, you may do it.
Yeah.
And then, we give it a little education because we have family and friends that come to help us pick. And we just start in one vineyard, complete it, and
Yeah. And we crush immediately.
crush
And
immediately.
we try to start as early as possible because we want the grapes cool for the processing.
Really? Why
Yeah.
is that?
Well, there's some indigenous yeast that are on the grapes already, and
Yes.
you don't really want the fermentation to start, most people, with those indigenous yeast. There is a school of thought that that's a better way to go, but most winemakers add cultured yeast. So the first thing we do is we take the grapes and we eliminate the indigenous yeast and try to keep it cool for a day or two, cool soaking. That extracts more color into the wine, and then we add the yeast. So that's why we like to start early in the morning.
Well, this way you have more control of it because the indigenous yeast must change from day to day or
That's-
year
Yes.
to year.
Yes.
So you
That's
don't
true.
know exactly what you're getting with
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
Although it makes possibly great wine, you don't know from
You
year to
can't.
year.
Right.
Yeah.
This way you have a control over it.
Yeah, we've done it both ways. We've
yeah.
made some with Highland Valley yeast, and
Yeah.
it came out great. Won some awards.
Whenever.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up to our last 5 minutes of our show. I'm so glad to have you here. In summary, we have here Ray and Janine Shore from Highland Valley, a local winery, and our series of vineyards of San Diego. We're hoping to educate you about the 117 plus vineyards we have here in San Diego. And more people should know about what great wines that we have. Ray is the vice president of the San Diego Vintners Association. So Ray, is there anything that you would like to enlighten our audience about?
Yeah, I think the thing that's unique about wine tasting and winemaking in San Diego County is, generally speaking, it's done by small wineries. I mean, we do have 4, 5, 6 that are doing 5,000 cases and up, but most of the wineries are doing 200 cases to 1,000, and that means the wines are handcrafted. And people are punching down frequently. They're making a barrel or 2 of each. If you like the wine when you taste it there, you better buy some because you go back 4 months later, it's probably not going to be there. They're not making 10,000 cases of anything. That's what makes it really fun. And you're also, generally speaking, you're meeting the owners and the winemakers, and lots of times they're the same people as they are in our case.
Sure, that's wonderful. And you, Ginny, what would you like our public to know?
I like to I think that because I like to say that San Diego was the first wine growing region in the state of California, not Napa and Sonoma. Yeah, I'm still back on that, winning the double gold and nobody knew we were here. But is that Junipero Serra brought the Mission grapes back in the 1700s, and then we had the Italians and the Portuguese that were coming to California, and they brought their vines. They were making wine here in the 1800s. And we have pictures of the vineyards in Highland Valley in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, when way before they had the vines growing up in the Napa and such. So I think that's really important to know that San Diego is a part of the grape history, the winemaking history of the state of California.
And and all the way across the United States, because
Yes.
ours are different than the East
Absolutely.
Coast grapes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Real briefly, how are San Diego grapes different than New York grapes or Milwaukee grapes?
Well, the varieties in California generally are similar to what you have in Europe. Most of the times we're doing clones that came over originally from Europe. In the upstate colder regions of New York, for instance, they're generally using varieties that are hybrids between French and American varieties. So you'll find all kinds of grapes back there, Colombards and so on, that we don't grow out in California. So there's more a distinction between the types of grapes as opposed to the quality of the grapes.
We're more classic.
Perhaps.
There you go.
Well, thank you again for being with us, and I can't
Yeah.
wait to go to the wine tasting this year in May,
Yes.
sponsored by the San Diego Vintners Association, and you should come join us and see exactly how the wines are created and produced, and perhaps they're to your palate out in May for the San Diego Vintners Association.
Yes.
Thanks for being with us with Ray and Janine Shore from Highland Valley and from the San Diego Vintners Association. Drink a good glass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Ray Schnorr, and this is 1 Minute, 1 Vineyard. I'm the Vice President of the San Diego County Vintners Association and also the co-owner and co-winemaker of Highland Valley Vineyards. And today we're going to talk all about corks. We only use corks exclusively in the closures for our Highland Valley wine, and that's because corks are the only truly sustainable closure for wines. They come from a cork tree. This is a piece of bark from the cork tree, and they're punched out this way in the cork factories in Portugal and Spain, and then finished into the large size format, which we actually then have branded with our logo on the side and the end, and then they're enclosed into the wine. When they come out, they look like this. So we're doing a good thing for the planet by using cork. There's plenty of cork. People often think, are they going to run out? These are harvested every 9 years. But the very best thing about corks in the use of wine is the great sound pop when you pull that cork out.